Ladies and gentlemen, take a moment to reflect on a truth that every chosen one must come to understand. Betrayal does not break your destiny, it reveals it. Those closest to you, the ones who are meant to stand beside you, can sometimes become the very instruments of your greatest trials. Betrayal is among the most painful experiences a person can face because it often comes from those we trust deeply. Family, close friends, or colleagues we once saw as allies. These are the people we allowed into the most personal corners of our lives, those we believed shared our values, our dreams, and our loyalty. The sting of betrayal is intensified because it is unexpected. It shakes the very foundation of trust and leaves us questioning our own judgment. Yet, while betrayal is a deeply personal wound, it is not a reflection of your worth, your character, or your purpose. Instead, it acts as a powerful revelation of the character of the one who betrays. The people closest to us often have the greatest ability to hurt us because we have given them access to our vulnerabilities. We have shared our secrets, our struggles, and our dreams, believing they would protect them with care. When betrayal happens, it can feel as though those sacred parts of us have been turned into weapons. That is why betrayal cuts so deeply. It is not just disloyalty, it is the misuse of trust, love, and closeness. Even within this pain, however, there is a profound lesson waiting to be understood. Betrayal exposes the true nature of the one who commits it. It uncovers hidden motives, insecurities, and weaknesses that may have existed all along. Often, betrayal is not born from anything you did, but from the inner struggles of the other person. They may have envied your success, resented your growth, or felt threatened by your potential. Whatever the reason, their actions reflect their inner turmoil, not your inadequacy. Understanding this is essential because many people internalize betrayal. They begin to question themselves, wondering if they could have acted differently or if they were too trusting. But the truth remains, betrayal is a mirror of their character, not yours. Consider the story of Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples of Jesus. Judas walked closely with the Son of God, witnessing miracles, hearing divine wisdom, and experiencing a level of closeness that few could imagine. Yet, he chose to betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. Judas's betrayal did not diminish Jesus' worth or his mission. It revealed Judas's greed, dissatisfaction, and inability to recognize the greatness before him. Jesus remained who he was, faithful, purposeful, and divine, despite Judas's actions. In the same way, your identity, your calling, and your worth remain unchanged, even when someone betrays you. Betrayal also separates what is genuine from what is counterfeit in our lives. It is a painful but necessary process of refinement. Sometimes the people who betray us were never truly aligned with our purpose. They may have walked with us for a time, but their hearts were never truly with us. Their betrayal becomes a tool used to remove the wrong influences, making space for those who are meant to walk with us in truth and sincerity. Although this process is painful, it ultimately works in your favor. It clears the path for authentic connections and frees you from relationships that were never meant to last. It is also important to recognize that betrayal tests not only the one who betrays, but also the one who is betrayed. How you respond reveals your own character, your integrity, and your maturity. It is easy to become bitter, angry, or vengeful when someone hurts you. The natural reaction is to retaliate or to allow the pain to harden your heart. However, responding in that way only continues the cycle of brokenness. True strength is found in rising above the betrayal, refusing to let it define you or control your actions. While betrayal is painful, it is not without purpose. It often becomes a catalyst for growth and transformation. It forces you to reevaluate the relationships in your life and to discern who is truly for you and who is not. It sharpens your awareness and teaches you to rely on something deeper than people alone. In many ways, betrayal removes illusions and brings clarity. It reveals people for who they truly are, and in doing so, it also reveals who you are. The pain may push you toward reflection, growth, and a deeper understanding of yourself and your path. The experience of betrayal can also draw you closer to a sense of higher purpose, leading you to seek comfort, wisdom, and justice beyond human understanding. What was meant to harm you can ultimately be transformed into something that strengthens you. The very betrayal that tried to break you can become the foundation for your greatest breakthrough. This requires a shift in perspective. Instead of focusing on the actions of the betrayer, focus on the lessons and growth that come from the experience. Not everyone who walks with you is meant to stay with you. Some relationships are temporary, and some people enter your life only as part of a lesson or a stepping stone. Betrayal has a way of making these truths clear. It helps you recognize who is genuinely aligned with your path and who is not. Though painful, it is also liberating. It frees you from false connections and opens the door for real, meaningful relationships. In the aftermath of betrayal, it is important to guard your heart. While feelings of anger and hurt are natural, allowing them to take control will only harm you further. Bitterness gives power to the one who hurt you, keeping you tied to the pain. Choosing forgiveness is not about excusing what happened. It is about freeing yourself. It is a decision to release the hold that the past has on you and to move forward without carrying that burden. Betrayal can also remind you that while people may fail, there is a deeper source of stability that does not. Human beings can disappoint, hurt, and abandon, but there remains something constant beyond human inconsistency. When you feel broken or alone, remember that your experience is seen, understood, and not without meaning. There is nothing hidden from true awareness. No action, no intention, no moment goes unnoticed. Even when people believe they have concealed their actions or manipulated the narrative, the truth remains visible on a deeper level. When someone wrongs you, they may act as if their behavior has gone unseen or unaccounted for. They may attempt to hide their intentions or justify their actions. But nothing is ever truly hidden. Every action, every motive, and every intention exists in full view of a greater understanding. Human beings often judge based on appearances, but true judgment goes beyond what is visible. It reaches into motives, thoughts, and intentions. Where others may misunderstand or overlook the truth, there is a clarity that sees everything as it truly is. For those who have been hurt, this can bring a sense of reassurance. Even when it feels like no one understands the depth of your pain, it has not gone unnoticed. What was done, how it was done, and why it was done are all fully known. At the same time, this reality serves as a reminder that no one escapes accountability. People may convince others, or even themselves, that they are innocent, but truth cannot be hidden forever. Every action carries its own weight, and every intention eventually reveals itself. But God is not mocked. Galatians 6 verse 7 reminds us, "Do not be deceived. God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows." While an offender may attempt to manipulate circumstances to escape consequences in this world, they cannot avoid divine justice. This truth also calls us to examine our own hearts. While it is natural to focus on the wrongs done to us, we must remember that God's awareness also extends to how we respond. Have we allowed bitterness to take root? Are we holding on to thoughts of revenge? God sees these things as well, and He desires that we trust in His justice instead of taking matters into our own hands. God's complete awareness also reassures us that He is working behind the scenes in ways we cannot always perceive. When we face betrayal, it may feel as though the offender has the advantage, as if they have escaped accountability or even benefited from their actions. But God's timing is not the same as ours. His justice is certain, even if it does not arrive as quickly as we would like. Ecclesiastes 3:17 reminds us that God will bring both the righteous and the wicked into judgment. There is a time for every action and a moment to judge every deed. This assures us that no wrongdoing goes unanswered, even if it appears delayed. In the story of Joseph, we see a powerful example of God's all-seeing awareness in action. Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery, believing they had removed him from their lives. They assumed their actions were hidden and that time would shield them from consequences. Yet God saw everything. He saw not only the act itself, but also the intentions behind it. At the same time, he saw Joseph's heart, his faith, his perseverance, and his trust in God despite his suffering. In time, God's justice and purpose were revealed. Joseph was elevated to a position of authority, and his brothers were eventually confronted with what they had done. What they intended for harm, God transformed for good. This story shows that God's awareness is not passive. He does not simply observe from a distance, he intervenes. He takes what was meant to harm you and reshapes it into something that fulfills his purpose for your life. This is why we can rest in his sovereignty, trusting that he is working all things together for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Even when circumstances seem unfair, there is a greater plan unfolding. God's complete knowledge also allows us to release the burden of seeking justice on our own. When we try to take matters into our own hands, we often act from limited understanding or emotional reaction. But God's judgments are perfect because his knowledge is perfect. He sees the entire picture, including what we cannot know. That is why we are reminded in Romans 12:19 not to seek revenge, but to leave room for God's justice. It is mine to avenge. I will repay, says the Lord. In moments of deep pain, when betrayal feels overwhelming and the one who hurt you seems untouched by consequences, remember that nothing escapes God's sight. He is the righteous judge, and his justice is certain. You do not have to carry the weight of proving your innocence or exposing the wrong yourself. God's all-seeing awareness assures you that nothing has been overlooked. He sees the offense, the offender, and your heart, and he will act in his perfect time and way. The role of those chosen in times of adversity is both unique and significant. Adversity is never meant to be your end. It is meant to elevate you. When betrayal comes, it can feel like a crushing blow, something designed to break you completely. However, you are called to look beyond the pain and recognize the deeper purpose woven into your trials. Every betrayal, every hardship, and every moment of rejection carries within it the seeds of something greater. Adversity becomes the place where you are refined and prepared. Consider again the life of Joseph. Betrayed by his brothers and sold into slavery, he could have allowed his circumstances to define him. Instead, he chose to trust in God's purpose. Each hardship he endured became a stepping stone toward his destiny. What appeared to be his downfall was actually the pathway to his elevation. From the pit to Potiphar's house and from prison to the palace, every stage prepared him for what was ahead. You must understand that betrayal is not only an attack, it can also be a setup for something greater. Those who betray you may believe they are blocking your progress, but in reality, they may be positioning you within a larger plan. This perspective requires a shift from focusing only on the temporary pain to recognizing the lasting purpose. The pain is real, but it is not permanent. The purpose behind it carries lasting significance. Betrayal is not allowed to destroy you, but to reposition you. It moves you into a place where something greater can unfold in your life. It clears paths you did not even know needed to be cleared. It also strengthens your character. You are called to lead, to inspire, and to reflect light in difficult circumstances. These roles require resilience, humility, and unwavering faith. Adversity tests and refines these qualities. It removes what is superficial and pushes you to rely on God more deeply. It teaches you to depend on His strength rather than your own. This refining process is not easy, but it is necessary. Growth rarely happens in comfort. What you are becoming matters just as much as what you will achieve. Through adversity, you also learn discernment. Betrayal reveals who is truly for you and who is not. It exposes hidden motives and uncovers relationships that may have been holding you back. Though it is painful to lose people you once trusted, this process is part of your growth. It removes what is not aligned with your path so that you can move forward without unnecessary weight. Your response to adversity also shapes your future. The way you handle betrayal reflects your faith and your trust in something greater than the situation itself. Will you allow the experience to make you bitter, or will you allow it to make you better? Bitterness keeps you tied to the pain, while forgiveness allows you to move forward. Forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongdoing. It is about releasing yourself from the burden of it. It is a conscious decision to no longer let the past control your present. When you choose forgiveness, you position yourself to receive peace, clarity, and the ability to move forward freely. You create space for growth and for new, healthier connections. Adversity also becomes a platform where strength is revealed. In moments of betrayal, rejection, or hardship, there is an opportunity for something greater to emerge within you. What was meant for harm can be transformed into something that strengthens and elevates you. The very experience that tried to break you can become the force that pushes you toward your purpose. Nothing you have gone through is wasted. Every moment of pain, every sleepless night, and every tear carries meaning. These experiences shape you, deepen your understanding, and prepare you for what lies ahead. You must hold on to this truth. What you are going through is not meaningless. It is preparing you for something greater, something that aligns with a deeper purpose for your life. Ultimately, your role in adversity is to rise above it. You are meant to become an example of resilience, a reflection of how brokenness can be transformed into strength. When others see how you handle betrayal and hardship with grace, faith, and perseverance, your life becomes a source of inspiration. It becomes proof that challenges do not have the final word. Adversity is not the conclusion of your story. It is the process through which you are elevated to the next stage. Every betrayal, every hardship, and every moment of pain carries purpose, shaping you into who you are meant to become. Trust in God's plan. Lean into His strength and understand that your elevation lies on the other side of adversity. What feels like pressure today is often preparation for what is ahead. Even when the path seems uncertain, there is a greater design unfolding beyond what you can see. The power of forgiveness and release is transformative, not only for your spiritual well-being, but also for your ability to move forward into the fullness of God's purpose for your life. Forgiveness is not merely a moral act. It is a divine principle that frees your heart and aligns you with God's justice. When you hold on to bitterness, you trap yourself in the pain of the offense, replaying the hurt and allowing it to take root deep within you. But when you choose to forgive, you release yourself from that prison and step into the freedom that God desires for you. Forgiveness is not always an easy decision, especially when the wounds run deep and the betrayal touches the core of your being. It can feel as though forgiving someone lets them escape accountability or minimizes what they have done. However, forgiveness is not about excusing the wrongdoing. It is about trusting God with the outcome. When you forgive, you acknowledge that vengeance does not belong to you. It belongs to the Lord. As it is written in Romans 12:19, you are called not to take revenge, but to leave room for God's justice, trusting that He will repay in His perfect way. By choosing forgiveness, you are not dismissing the seriousness of the offense. Instead, you are placing it into the hands of the righteous judge. God sees everything, including the intentions and the heart behind every action. His justice is flawless, and He will deal with every situation in His perfect time and manner. Forgiveness then becomes an act of faith. It is releasing the burden of judgment to the one who judges with complete understanding. It is saying, God, I trust you to handle this better than I ever could. This act of surrender allows your heart to rest rather than remain consumed by anger. Forgiveness also allows God's grace to flow freely in your life. Bitterness is like a toxin that spreads into every area it touches. It clouds your thinking, hardens your heart, and distances you from peace. When you cling to bitterness, you hinder your own growth and block the blessings meant for you. But when you release the offense through forgiveness, you create space for healing, restoration, and peace. You allow your heart to breathe again, no longer weighed down by resentment. As Ephesians teaches, you are called to let go of anger, rage, and malice, and instead walk in kindness and compassion, forgiving others just as God has forgiven you. You are called to a higher standard, and forgiveness is part of that calling. It sets you apart from a world that often seeks revenge or holds on to resentment. Forgiveness reflects God's character. Just as you have been forgiven, you are asked to extend that same grace to others. This does not mean ignoring the pain or pretending the offense never happened. It means choosing not to let the offense define you or control your future. It means refusing to carry the weight of anger that drains your energy and distracts you from your purpose. Releasing the offense also opens the door for God to bring justice in ways beyond your imagination. When Joseph forgave his brothers, he did not deny their wrongdoing. Instead, he recognized a greater purpose at work. He declared that what was meant for harm was turned into something good, ultimately leading to the saving of many lives. His forgiveness not only freed him internally, but also restored what was broken and positioned him to fulfill his purpose. In the same way, forgiveness can unlock doors in your life that bitterness would keep closed. Forgiveness is also a gift you give to yourself. It breaks the chains that tie you to past pain and allows you to focus on the future ahead. Holding on to unforgiveness is like drinking poison and expecting someone else to suffer. In reality, it only harms you. It keeps you stuck in cycles of hurt, unable to fully experience joy and peace. But when you forgive, you reclaim your sense of freedom, your joy, and your direction. You step out of the shadow of the past and into the light of what lies ahead. It is important to understand that forgiveness does not always mean reconciliation. Forgiveness is unconditional, but reconciliation requires change, repentance, and willingness from both sides. There are times when you are called to forgive, but not to restore the relationship to what it once was. If someone continues harmful behavior, wisdom may require distance. Forgiveness releases the offense to God, but it does not require you to place yourself back into harm. It is about freedom, not forced closeness. In forgiving, you also reflect the love and grace of Christ. Even in the face of betrayal, mockery, and suffering, forgiveness was extended. It was not because it was deserved, but because it aligned with a higher purpose. This example shows that forgiveness is not based on the actions of others, but on your willingness to rise above them. It is an act of obedience, strength, and deep trust. Forgiveness is also a process. It may not happen instantly, especially when the pain runs deep. It often requires prayer, humility, and a willingness to surrender your hurt again and again. Sometimes you may need to forgive multiple times as new layers of pain surface. But each step you take toward forgiveness brings you closer to healing. It lifts the weight off your heart and allows peace to take its place. Over time, what once felt overwhelming begins to lose its hold on you. Let forgiveness become your response to bitterness. Let it be the act of faith that releases God's justice into your situation. Forgive not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve to live free from the weight of what happened. In doing so, you allow what was meant for harm to be transformed into something that elevates you. You trust the outcome to God and walk forward with strength and clarity. God's vindication is a powerful reminder that you do not have to fight your battles alone. When you place your trust in Him, you step into the assurance that justice will prevail, not by your effort, but by His hand. Vindication is not about revenge or proving others wrong. It is about allowing God to reveal His truth and His purpose in your life. It is about letting His light shine so clearly through you that it overshadows the darkness of what you experienced. When you have been wronged, the natural reaction is to defend yourself, to explain your side, or to expose those who hurt you. But you are called to a higher way, one that trusts in God's timing and methods rather than your own. God promises that no weapon formed against you will ultimately succeed. No lie, no scheme, and no betrayal can override what has been destined for you. He is your defender, and His vindication is greater than anything you could achieve on your own. The story of Joseph once again illustrates this truth. Betrayed, sold into slavery, and falsely accused, he endured years of hardship. Yet he did not seek revenge or attempt to control the outcome. Instead, he remained faithful, trusting in a greater plan. In time, he was lifted from the prison to a place of authority. What was meant to destroy him became the very platform that fulfilled his purpose. His life became proof that vindication does not come from striving, but from trusting. Joseph later told his brothers that although they intended harm, it was turned into something good. This is the essence of divine vindication, transforming what was meant for evil into a testimony of goodness and purpose. When you trust in this process, you release the need to prove yourself. You no longer feel the urgency to defend your name or correct every misunderstanding. You allow truth to reveal itself in time. God's vindication often speaks louder than any words you could say. It unfolds in ways that silence doubt and expose truth without you having to force it. It restores what was lost and elevates you beyond what was taken. This kind of vindication requires patience and faith. It requires trusting even when nothing seems to be happening. But behind the scenes, things are shifting, aligning, and unfolding in ways you cannot yet see. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. Every moment, every injustice, and every silent struggle is accounted for. There is a greater justice at work, one that operates beyond human limitations. So continue to walk forward with integrity. Continue to trust, even when it feels difficult. Your story is still unfolding, and what lies ahead carries more purpose than what has been left behind.